If you're learning the code, I can almost guarantee that you're taking the long road instead of the shortest path. And frankly, that should terrify.
If you enjoy content like this, please subscribe to the Lucid Programming channel for more programming tutorials. In this video, we're going to be going over a very quick overview of both the Beautiful Soup module in Python as well as the requests module in Python as well. So if you're not familiar, a very brief introduction to both of those. Requests is going to be a module that's going to allow us to access various resources on the web. So allow us to obtain information from various websites, navigate to those websites, and Beautiful Soup is going to allow us to parse that information. So once we navigate to those websites, we might want to extract certain types of content from those websites, and Beautiful Soup is going to allow us to do that. So this is going to be a very much from the ground up video. The only thing I assume that you have installed on your machine is Python and pip, PIP, for installing Python packages. If you have both of those things installed in your machine, you should be ready to follow along. One-to-one, and it should work out just fine. So we're going to go over some of the basics of both the requests and Beautiful Soup module in the first part of this video, and then we're going to bring all of those things that we learned into a very real project, or a very simple project, I should say. This is really meant to be a very minimal introduction to both of these modules, and just to see an example of how you can be effective with both of these things. So let's just get started by installing both the requests and Beautiful Soup modules on your machine. You probably will already have requests installed, but we'll just make sure that you have that installed in any case. So go ahead and open up a terminal, or if you're on Windows, command prompt, and go ahead and type in the following two lines. So pip install requests. If you already have this installed on your machine like I do, you'll see some requirement already satisfied messages pop up here. That's totally fine. If you don't, it will install on your machine. You probably should have this installed already. The other one is install Beautiful Soup 4. So go ahead and say pip install BS4, and I already have this installed on my machine, so we're good to go. Alright, so we've got all the things that we need installed. I'm just going to go ahead and close that window, and we're going to move back to our file here. So we've gone ahead and done this part. We've installed both of these modules. So what we're going to do next is we're going to import them and use them. So we're going to import requests, and then we're going to import a specific class from the BS4 module that we installed, specifically the Beautiful Soup class. So this is going to allow us to, in the terms of Beautiful Soup, soupify content that we obtain from a website, and again, that will make it parsable so we can extract information from that content. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to use the request module. And I guess before I go any further, I want to mention that all of the code along with the comments that is kind of supplementing what I'm saying here, all of that is going to be provided on my GitHub, and the link to that will be accessible in the description. So you can go ahead and download that if you want some additional information as to what I'm doing or saying. Right, so back to this, we're going to create a variable called result, and we're going to say request.get, and then we're going to pass in the website that we want to access. So in this case, I'm just accessing the homepage of Google, so I'm just going to move my browser over here. So I'm just going to access this page right there. So I'm just going to go ahead and get that, and then what we're going to do to make sure that the page was actually accessed is we're going to print out the status code, which is just an HTTP status code letting us know whether or not the page was accessible or not. So 404 errors are an HTTP code that's letting you know that the content that you're looking for is not present. A 200 code is letting you know that the content that you're looking for is present, and the response is okay. So I'm going to go ahead and write this. I'm going to run it. So I'm going to say Python. This file is called Beautiful Soup and request.py. If I run this, it's going to run it. Let me just clear the terminal because it's kind of messy. Let me run that again. And we see that the code that we get back from the google.com homepage is 200, which indicates that indeed the page is accessible. So another thing that we can do is we can also print out some other information of the web page that we just accessed, like the HTTP headers. And again, for more information on both the headers and the status codes, you can navigate to these links that are in the comments that point to the Wikipedia articles on both of those topics. So I'm just going to go ahead and write this, and we'll see what the headers look like. So there's just some extra information on the google.com homepage. So for instance, we can see here the domain is google.com. There's some other information here as well that might be of use. Just going to go ahead and close that. It's more or less just to verify that not only is the page valid, but it's also indeed the page that we wanted to obtain. Let's keep moving down here. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to extract the content of the page, and that is actually the source of the page, and we're going to store that in a variable. So the object that we created here, this result, the result has these built-in methods, status code, headers. That's how we were able to print out both of those types of information that we just printed out there. Another one that it has is .content, and that is going to return the source of that page. And then what we're going to do is store that into a variable called src for source, and then we're going to have this variable. So let's go ahead and run that, and I'm just going to print out the source so you can actually see what it looks like. I'm going to run that like this. So we see a bunch of output here, and this is really just the web source of the google.com homepage. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete that. Now that's kind of a lot of stuff all just thrown on the screen. That's great that we can actually access it. Now we turn to Beautiful Soup because this is going to allow us to actually do something with that content. So what we're going to do now that we've obtained that content, we've navigated to that web page, we've verified that we're on the actual web page that we want, and now what we're going to do is we're going to pass that source variable into this Beautiful Soup class, creating a soup object. And this really is just kind of an object that Beautiful Soup creates from this source, and it allows us to extract certain types of information that we might want to extract from this thing. So we're going to store the result of that object in this variable called soup. So I'm passing in source here, and there's an extra parameter here, this LXML. You can more or less just ignore this extra parameter. It doesn't really mean too much. If you don't have it in there, you'll get a warning, essentially to tell you to put it in there. So it's there for all intents and purposes, but you don't necessarily need to worry so much about why this is here. So we have the soup object. So for instance, one thing that we can do now that we have the soup object is we can do things like give me all of the links on the page. So what we can do is we can create a variable, which I can call link. Links, and I can say soup.findAll. So findAll is a method provided from this Beautiful Soup object that we're accessing here. And what do I want to find all of on this page? I want to find all of the A tags. So this A is the argument that's being passed in. It tells Beautiful Soup to say, hey, find all of the A tags or all of the links on this page, and then store them in this variable links, and then we're going to go ahead and actually just print those out to the screen. And just so we don't get like too much content, I'm going to go ahead and comment out the previous print statements here, just so we don't have too much output on the screen. So we've got our links, we'll print them out, and then we'll print a new line. So I'll write that, give it a run, and let's see what we get. So this is the output that we just ran here, and we can see that we have a list. So you can see the square bracket here, and the end square bracket indicates a Python list. And the contents of this list are all of the A tags on the page. So if I move, let's just take a look at some of these links. So we have images, we have one that has the text maps. So let me just kind of move this back over here. Indeed, if we look, let's just look at over here, we have this thing called images that is pointing to the link in the top right, maps, etc. So we can look for other links in this list that will correspond to the actual links on the page that we have searched for all the links on the page.
The best way to become a full-time developer in 2021 is not a coding bootcamp. I know that might come as a shock.
So that's that. So I'm going to go ahead and comment that out so we don't have excess output here. And let's just keep going down. So getting all of the list of links is one thing, but we might want to actually extract certain types of links. So maybe the page that we're requesting, the page that we've just superfied, it has links that we're actually after. So this example here says, okay, actually I care about all of the links that have a certain string in the text field. So what do I mean by the text field? If I bring this back up, I essentially want to look for all of the links, let's say, that have the word about in them. So I want to see all of the links that have the word about. So anything that's an A tag where we, between the A and the /A, there's the word about. If it has that, I want that link. So that's one example, one use case out of many that you could form in this type of workspace. So what we're going to do is we're going going to loop through all of the links that we've obtained from above. And then what we're going to do is we're going to say if the word about is in the text of the link. So again, what I'm doing is I'm using the .text part of that variable. So as I'm looping through each of these links in that list, every one of those elements in that list is actually a Beautiful Soup element. So that allows me to call this .text function on each of those elements, because that is defined from this element that is extracted and stored in this list. So I'm saying, look at the text in that link in that list, and is the word about in that text? If so, then go ahead and print out that link, because I care about that link, and actually go ahead and print out the actual thing that it goes to as well. So that's what this is doing here. So link also has a attribute, or I should say a function, attrs, and I'm looking for a specific attribute of that link. So inside the a tag, there's an attribute inside of that, which is the href tag inside of that, and I'm saying give me the content of that href inside of the link tag, which is the inside of this tag that has the a. So there's kind of a lot of Russian doll kind of structure going on there. So let's go ahead and just print that out. I'll write that, run it. So what we have here is we have the link. So we found the about Google thing right here, so that's good. And then we also have the href attribute of this link. So for instance, we see this is the whole a tag. So we have everything from the start of the a tag to the end of it, including the text, including the href. And then what we did with the next line is we said, hey, inside of the a tag, there's this attribute called href, and we want to access the content of that attribute inside of the a tag. And what we did there, that's precisely this, and that's what we're printing out right here. So I hope that makes sense. I know that's kind of drilling down quite a bit, and you can go pretty complicated with these types of expressions, but I think once you understand this level, you can arbitrarily apply different levels of complexity to your own situations, your own problems, your own situations, your own scenarios. I said that already. Anyway, so we have this structure set up. We have kind of a general idea of how to use both requests and Beautiful Soup. Let's go ahead and try to apply this on a more elaborate web page. And the web page that I had in mind is this web page right here. So this is just a collection of briefings and statements given at the White House. So you can see the day of this upload is September 12th, and so these are the most recent remarks by briefings and statements that have something to do with the White House. So there's a whole list of them, and the goal of what we're going to do with Beautiful Soup and requests is we're going to navigate to this page. We're going to try to find a way to extract all of the links on this page, and specifically all of the links that have are sort of in this feed here. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to store them into a list, and then you could think about doing whatever you like to that list. I mean, of course, like the possibilities are quite endless depending on your goals, but this just kind of gives you the scaffolding, the structure, the idea to take this and then, do whatever you want for your own purposes. So let me just minimize this for now. Let's go back to this code. So what we're going to do is I'm going to open up a new tab. So I'm going to go ahead and say tab new. I have another file that I've created and have some initial comments in, which I've called whiteHouseExample.py. I'm going to go ahead and open that file here. So you can see that I've just opened a Python file which is called whiteHouseExample.py, and it just has some comments which kind of indicate what this is all about. So we want to obtain links from this website, as we just mentioned. We want to, this is just kind of telling you what this website is all about. And the goal, as I mentioned before, is to extract all of the links on that page and then just kind of print them out into a list. So we can pretty much use the majority of what we already have, and we can just kind of go from there and more or less just copy and paste some things that we have from our previous file. So let's start off by just doing the very basic things. Let's go ahead and import requests. Let's go ahead and say from BS4 import Beautiful Soup. And then what we're going to do is we're going to, let me just go back over to this tab over here, because I think it's a little bit easier to just copy and paste some of these things. We're going to want to do a very similar thing where we use the request.get method, and we're going to paste in not google.com this time, but we're going to paste in the website of the statements. So we're going to go ahead and cut in there. I'm going to bring this website up. I'm going to copy this link here, put this back over there, and then I'm just going to go ahead and paste this in there. So this is now the website that we're accessing, these statements for the content that we want to extract. Okay, so we've got that. Now the next step is we want to, let's go back over here. So let's see, what else did we do? So one of the other things that we did is we stored the content, once we've navigated to that site, is we stored the content of that into a variable called src. So that's pretty much just a direct copy and paste. We can just move that right in there. So now we have an src variable that has the content from the result. And now what we want to do, going back over to the initial file that we have, I want to create a soup object. So I'm going to copy that, move that over there. That's also exactly the same. So I've gotten the source from the web page. I've created a soup object based on that source that will allow us to parse. And then let's go ahead and write some new code. So I'm going to create a list, which I'll call URLs. This will just be the list that will populate with the links that we care about. And then what I want to do is I want to loop through all of the links. So let's go back to the page here. So we have a couple links. These are the links right here on the page. Let's just go ahead and inspect them. So if you're on Chrome or Firefox, if you right click on an element on your page, there should be something like this where it says inspect or inspect element. If we go ahead and click that, we'll be taken to this sort of thing over here, which is showing us exactly what in the source of this page this element corresponds to. You can see as I move over this content, various things are being highlighted to indicate that these things correspond to the code that I'm sort of mousing over here. It's a very nice tool. So basically, one thing that we can kind of observe is that all of these links, if I right click on this one as well, all of these links are contained in these H2 heading class tags. So inside of the H2 tags, we have the A link, or the link that we're actually after. So you can see that all of the links on this page are in fact formatted in this way. So all of these things are in between H2 tags. And one thing that we can do, we didn't see this exactly, but one thing that we can do is we can tell Beautiful Soup, hey, find all of the H2 tags on a given page, and then we'll loop through those and then extract a link from those, and then we'll have our list that we're after. Minimize that. So we've got our empty list. So now let's do this. Let's say for H2 tag in soup.find underscore all. And then here, remember, if we go back to this initial file here, we want H2 through those and then extract a link of the H2 tags on a given page. That we can do is we can H2 tags formatted in this way as well. All we observe is that here being a page, this sort of thing. These are the links right here on the page. Let's just go ahead and inspect them. So if you're on Chrome or Firefox, if you right click on an element on your page, there should be something like this where it says inspect or inspect element. If we go ahead and click that, we'll be taken to this sort of thing over here, which is showing us exactly what in the source of this page this element corresponds to. You can see as I move over this content, various things are being highlighted to indicate that these things correspond to the code that I'm sort of mousing over here. It's a very nice tool. So basically, one thing that we can kind of observe is that all of these links, if I right click on this one as well, all of these links are contained in these H2 heading class tags. So inside of the H2 tags, we have the A link, or the link that we're actually after. So you can see that all of the links on this page are in fact formatted in this way. So all of these things are in between H2 tags. And one thing that we can do, we didn't see this exactly, but one thing that we can do is we can tell Beautiful Soup, hey, find all of the H2 tags on a given page, and then we'll loop through those and then extract a link from those, and then we'll have our list that we're after. Minimize that. So we've got our empty list. So now let's do this. Let's say for H2 tag in soup.find underscore all. And then here, remember, if we go back to this initial file here, we wanted to find all the links. And what we did is we said find all of the things that had the A tag. Well, in this case, we don't want to find all the things with the A tag just yet. We want to find all of the things with the H2 tag. So we'll go ahead and say find all of the ones in this soup that have the tag H2. And then inside of that, if you recall, if we go back to that page, inside of that h2 tag, there's an a tag, and that's what we want to extract. So we'll go ahead and minimize this and say, okay, now that we're looping through all the h2 tags, let's say a tag is equal to h2 tag dot find. And what do we want to find? We want to find the a tag inside of that. So there's find all and there's find. So find all is going to be a function that's going to return to us a list. It's going to return all of the ones on the page. There might be no items of this form on the page. There might be one, there might be many. In any case, it's going to return to us a list. This a tag is going to just find a single element. So it's just going to find a tag, the first tag that corresponds to this, and then we're going to store that in this variable a tag here. Now what we want to do, we have hypothetically our a tag, and we're going to add that